Hi, I'm Sarah and I'm on a journey to becoming a published children's book writer and illustrator. So today I'm going to take you through my illustration process as I work on a piece for my children's book portfolio. This is actually made over a couple of weeks in chunks of an hour or so, whenever I had the time to work on it. So there are 5 main stages of my process: sketching, final line work, painting, piecing everything together digitally, and then adding the final touches. I had already designed my characters for this piece and thought about the narrative behind it, and hopefully I'll be able to do a whole series of pieces with these characters who I've named Otto, the little bear, and Orla. So first I sketched the illustration in Procreate. I prefer to start the process digitally as it makes it a lot easier to play around with the layout, resize things, move them around, and I can do all of this without using up lots of paper. Then I redraw this on paper. If it's a more detailed illustration, I might print it out from Procreate and then trace over the top. With this illustration, I didn't trace it, I just redrew it looking at what my original composition was. So once I've got my sketch on paper, I will pop this on my Lightbox and trace over it in ink pen. However, for this one, I wasn't really loving the way the ink looked, so I decided to try pencil instead, and I really liked the way that this turned out. Then I scanned in those blue pencil outlines and started working on this piece digitally. So here we'll move on to tidying up that scanned artwork. In Affinity Photo, it's very easy to delete most of the white background, but there's always a few bits that I had to go back over and tidy up. Next, I start painting. I'm mixing my colours from a few primaries. This really helps me to create a colour palette that feels cohesive. So I'm using Holbein Artist Gouache in these teeny tiny tubes. I paint each part of the image separately, so the final piece will be made using traditional techniques but then brought together and finessed digitally. It's probably not the most efficient method, but it feels the most playful to me and means if I make a mistake, I only have to repaint a small amount rather than doing the whole thing again. It also gives me the opportunity to play around with colour and texture in a way that I wouldn't be able to do if I just painted it all. Then I scan in all my painted elements, and I have a similar task of removing the background and then putting everything together in Affinity Photo. I can tidy things up and make little edits if needed, like to colour or move things around a little bit. Once I'm happy with how everything looks, I then like to add some final texture. At the moment, I prefer doing this back in Procreate as I like the brushes I have in there, but I could start doing this in Affinity Photo if I wanted to. So here's my illustration, and I hope you enjoyed joining me for the ride and seeing how I make my art.